You're nothing but a filthy immigrant driver. If you don't even know the roads, go back to where you came from. Smack. The sound of the slap echoed through the small cabin of the sedan, sharp and blindingly loud. A stinging red mark instantly flared up on the driver's cheek. For a split second, there was dead silence. The heavy rain pounding against the windshield seemed to fade away. Then, a chilling, mechanical clack. The electronic child locks engaged, sealing all four doors. The driver's dark eyes shifted to the rear-view mirror, utterly devoid of fear, staring directly into the soul of the woman who just struck him. Let's freeze that right there. Look at his face. That is the face of a man who has just been pushed over the edge. Or so she thinks. When your dignity is ruthlessly trampled by someone waving a fat bank account in your face, what's your move? Do you swallow your pride, keep your head down for the sake of a paycheck? Or do you strike back? Drop a comment right now and tell me your answer, because you will not believe what this driver is about to do next. To understand how we ended up in this claustrophobic nightmare on the freeway, we have to rewind the clock about 4 hours. Meet Amir. If you looked at him right now, gripping the steering wheel of a beat-up Toyota Camry, wearing a faded gray hoodie and a tired expression, you'd think he was just another guy trying to make rent. Just another invisible gear in the gig economy, trying to survive the night shift. But looks can be incredibly deceiving. Amir wasn't just a driver. He was the global head of security for RideLink, the very multi-billion-dollar tech platform this ride was booked on. We're talking about a guy who commands a six-figure salary, sits on the executive board, and has the absolute power to wipe a user off the digital map with a single keystroke. So, what was a C-suite executive doing driving a standard sedan on a rainy Friday evening? The company had been drowning in anonymous reports. Drivers were being harassed, assaulted, and treated like disposable trash by a growing demographic of elite, untouchable passengers who knew how to game the complaint system. The board of directors wanted to sweep it under the rug, calling it a minor statistical anomaly. Amir refused. He needed raw, unfiltered data. He needed to feel exactly what his drivers felt on the front lines. So, he went undercover. No bodyguards, no corporate badge, no special privileges, just a newly created driver profile, a high-definition dashboard camera, and a full tank of gas. The shift had been pretty mundane until 7 p.m. when his phone pinged with a premium pickup request in Oakwood Estates, a heavily guarded gated community where the driveways are longer than most people's entire streets. Amir pulled up to a towering wrought iron gate and waited. 10 minutes passed. Finally, the heavy oak doors of the mansion swung open, and out marched Victoria. She was a vision of arrogant perfection. Impeccable blonde blowout, an oversized trench coat that probably cost more than Amir's car, and a demeanor that screamed, "I own everything I look at." She didn't walk. She marched, leaving a trail of expensive, suffocating perfume, and the distinct, sharp scent of aged Pinot Noir in her wake. She didn't even look at him when she yanked the back door open. She carelessly hurled her studded designer handbag onto the leather seat, nearly clipping Amir in the shoulder, and threw herself in with a heavy sigh. "Take me to the Grand Meridian. And step on it. I'm already late because your stupid GPS couldn't find my gate." Her voice was slurred, dripping with a venomous condescension that immediately set off alarms in Amir's head. He didn't argue. He just nodded politely, put the car in drive, and merged onto the slick, rain-soaked roads. The atmosphere inside the car was instantly suffocating. Victoria spent the first 15 minutes aggressively tapping her manicured nails against the window, and loudly complaining on her phone about how utterly incompetent the help is these days. Amir stayed quiet, his eyes scanning the road. But internally, his corporate security mind was already analyzing her behavior against the company's terms of service. She wasn't just annoying, she was a walking, talking liability. The rain started coming down harder, blurring the neon city lights into streaks of red and yellow across the windshield. Traffic on the interstate began to crawl, transforming into a sprawling sea of red brake lights. It was Friday rush hour, compounded by a nasty fender bender a few miles ahead, completely out of Amir's control. But for someone like Victoria, Minor inconveniences weren't just facts of life, they were personal insults directed entirely at her. "Are you blind?" she snapped suddenly, kicking the back of Amir's seat with the sharp heel of her designer boot. "I told you I'm in a hurry. Why the hell are you sitting in this lane like a moron?" "Ma'am, the entire highway is backed up," Amir replied, keeping his voice carefully neutral. He was practicing the exact verbal de-escalation techniques he mandated in the training manuals for his million-plus drivers globally. "There's an accident ahead. We'll be moving shortly." "Don't talk back to me," she shrieked, leaning so far forward that her wine-soaked breath hit the back of his neck. "You people are all exactly the same. Lazy, incompetent, always looking for an excuse. You probably can't even read the road signs properly. What is it? Do you need me to spell it out for you in whatever backward, third-world language you speak at home?" Amir's grip on the steering wheel tightened just a fraction, his knuckles turned slightly white. He had read thousands of reports of xenophobic abuse from drivers, but experiencing the sheer, unprovoked hatred firsthand was a completely different animal. This wasn't just a rude passenger having a bad day, this was deeply ingrained entitlement. It was a firm belief that because she was paying a $30 fare, she had successfully purchased the right to strip away his humanity and treat him like an animal. Every time the car inched forward, Victoria would sigh dramatically. A loud, grating sound meant to punish him. She started listing off her grievances to whoever was on the other end of her phone call, making sure to speak loud enough for Amir to hear every single humiliating word. "I swear, they just let anyone into this country now. They hand them a driver's license and suddenly they think there are equals. He smells like cheap cologne and absolute failure. I'm going to have his account permanently deactivated the second I get out of this filthy death trap. He'll be begging on the streets by tomorrow." Amir slowly glanced at the discreet, high-definition dashcam mounted right behind his rearview mirror. A tiny blue light blinked steadily. It was recording everything. The audio was crystal clear. He wasn't just a victim trapped in a moving metal box, he was a silent judge, meticulously gathering irrefutable evidence. He wondered how many other drivers she had terrorized. How many honest, hard-working people had their nights ruined, or worse, their livelihoods completely destroyed by a false, malicious report from this exact woman? The tension in the car became a physical weight pressing down on his chest. The rhythmic thumping of the windshield wipers felt like a ticking countdown clock. They were approaching a crucial junction, and thanks to the sudden closure of the main exit by a line of police cruisers with flashing lights, Amir had to make a split-second decision to detour. He signaled and took the next off-ramp, deviating from the digital GPS route shown on Victoria's phone screen. The moment the tires hit the exit ramp, Victoria lost her absolute mind. The sudden turn caused her designer bag to slide off the leather seat, spilling the contents of her absurdly expensive makeup kit all over the floor mats. She unbuckled her seatbelt, lunging forward until her face was inches from the plastic divider, her breath fogging up the acrylic. "Where the hell are you taking me?" she screamed, her voice shrill enough to crack glass. "I said the Grand Meridian, you deaf idiot. This is the wrong way. Turn this piece of junk around right now." Amir kept his eyes glued to the dark, slick road. "Ma'am, I apologize for the sudden turn, but the main interstate is completely shut down by a police barricade. There was a major accident. The GPS is rerouting us through the frontage road. We'll be back on track in less than 10 minutes. Don't you dare lie to me," she spat, violently kicking the back of his seat. "You're trying to rack up the meter, aren't you? You desperate, pathetic little scammer. I know exactly how you people operate. You come to this country, you leech off our system, and you try to steal from hard-working people like my husband." Let's pause for a second and just take in the sheer audacity of that statement. While most of us out here are grinding day in and day out, running side hustles, building our own paths to financial freedom, and actually putting in the sweat equity to create a better life, you have people like Victoria. People who were born on third base and think they hit a triple. These entitled elites genuinely believe that paying a measly $30 fare gives them the divine right to own your soul for the duration of the ride. They think their bank accounts buy them immunity from basic human decency. But on this channel, we don't let that slide. We believe in the hustle. And we absolutely believe in karma. The fake elites think they can use their money to bend the rules. But justice always has its own way of biting back. If you love seeing toxic, arrogant people get their egos completely shattered, hit that subscribe button right now. Join our community, because we are dedicated to exposing these bullies, and you definitely want to stick around for the brutal reality check coming up. Back in the car, the air grew impossibly thick. Victoria was relentlessly kicking the back of the driver's seat. Thud. 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 Each kick was harder than the last, jarring Amir's shoulders. But Amir didn't yell. He didn't swerve. He kept his hands perfectly positioned at 10 and 2. Inside his mind, however, the global head of security was going to work. He was mentally pulling up the exact clauses of the platform's terms of service. Clause 3.1. Harassment and discriminatory language. Clause 4.5. Damage to company-affiliated property. Clause 5.1. Threats to driver safety. She wasn't just digging a hole, she was excavating her own digital grave. And the high-definition dashcam was capturing every single shovel full of dirt. I am going to make sure you never work in this city again, she threatened, waving her phone dangerously close to his face. I know the regional manager. I will have you deported back to whatever mud hut you crawled out of. Right there, that's the line. I need to ask you guys a serious question. Put yourself in that driver's seat. You're working a late shift, maybe trying to fund your own startup, maybe just trying to put food on the table, doing nothing wrong. And this passenger starts attacking your race, your background, and threatening your livelihood. What is your absolute breaking point? How long do you sit there and take the abuse before you fight back? Drop a comment down below and tell me exactly what you would do. Would you pull over and kick her out? Would you curse her out? Let me know right now, because Amir's reaction is going to leave you speechless. The detour had taken them through a dimly lit industrial park to bypass the traffic. The contrast between the gritty warehouses outside and Victoria's diamond earrings inside couldn't have been sharper, for someone like her. Just being in a neighborhood that didn't have valet parking was a personal attack. Her panic mixed with her alcohol-fueled rage, creating a highly explosive cocktail. Stop the car, she shrieked, her voice cracking with hysteria. Stop the damn car right now, you terrorist. I'm calling the cops. Amir spoke calmly, using his executive de-escalation training. Ma'am, it is not safe to pull over on this dark stretch of road. We will be back on the main highway in exactly 2 miles. That was the final straw for her fragile, inflated ego. She couldn't handle being told no by someone she considered a peasant. She reached into the cup holder, grabbed her half-empty iced latte, and hurled it directly at the back of Amir's head. The plastic cup bounced off the headrest, splashing cold, sticky liquid all over Amir's shoulder and the dashboard. But she didn't stop there. Fueled by blind privilege, she leaned all the way forward, swung her arm with everything she had, and delivered a ringing, open-handed slap right across Amir's cheek. Smack. The exact sound we heard at the very beginning of this story. The stinging red mark flared up instantly. There was dead silence in the cabin. Save for the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers. Amir slowly reached up and wiped a drop of coffee from his jawline. His expression didn't show fear. It didn't show panic. And it certainly didn't show submission. It showed absolute, terrifying clarity. He pressed a master switch on his door panel. Clack. 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 The heavy mechanical sound echoed in the small space. The electronic child locks engaged on the rear doors. The windows rolled up tight and locked out. The Camry was no longer just a taxi, it was a mobile vault. Amir looked up into the rearview mirror. Making direct, piercing eye contact with Victoria for the first time all night. His voice dropped an octave, losing all the polite customer service warmth. It was replaced by the chilling, authoritative tone of an executive who controls a global security grid. Your ride ends here. Victoria. He slammed his foot on the gas pedal. The engine roared as the car surged forward, blowing right past the highway on-ramp. Victoria's arrogant sneer instantly vanished, replaced by genuine, wide-eyed terror as she began desperately yanking at the locked door handles. But it was too late. The trap had been sprung, and the hunter was now firmly behind the wheel. The tires screeched as the Camry tore down the frontage road. In the back seat, Victoria was completely losing it. The sheer arrogance that had fueled her just 5 minutes ago evaporated, replaced by frantic, messy panic. She was yanking on the door handles, pounding her expensive rings against the reinforced glass, screaming at the top of her lungs. "Let me out. Let me out right now, you psycho." Amir didn't flinch. He didn't even look back. His eyes were fixed dead ahead. The entire drive lasted maybe 7 minutes, but for Victoria, it must have felt like a lifetime. Suddenly, the car swerved sharply into a brightly lit parking lot. The brakes squealed, and the car jerked to a complete stop. Amir hit the master unlock button. Victoria practically tumbled out of the back seat. She stumbled on her high heels, her designer coat dragging on the wet pavement. She looked up, and the neon blue sign of the 43rd Precinct Police Station reflected in her tear-streaked face. For a split second, relief washed over her. And then, the entitlement came rushing right back. She saw 2 uniformed officers taking a smoke break near the entrance. And she immediately flipped the switch, playing the ultimate victim card. "Help! Help me!" she shrieked. Sprinting toward the cops, her mascara running down her face. "Arrest him. He locked the doors. He abducted me. This filthy immigrant tried to kidnap me." The officers instantly dropped their cigarettes, their hands resting on their utility belts as they moved cautiously toward the Camry. Amir turned off the engine. He unbuckled his seatbelt, took a slow, deep breath, and stepped out into the rain. He didn't put his hands up in a panic. He didn't shout to defend himself. He simply stood by the open driver's door, projecting an aura of calm authority that immediately confused the approaching officers. "Sir, step away from the vehicle and keep your hands where we can see them," the taller officer commanded. Victoria was hiding behind the other cop, pointing a shaking finger at Amir. "Shoot him. He's dangerous. He hit me and locked me in." Amir smoothly reached into his inner jacket pocket. The officers tensed, but Amir just pulled out a heavy, matte black ID card with a gold embossed logo and handed it to the nearest cop. "My name is Amir Vance," he said, his voice steady and echoing slightly in the damp air. "I am the global head of security for RideLink. I am operating this vehicle under an internal corporate audit." The officer looked at the ID, then looked at Amir, then at the beat-up Camry. The confusion was palpable. Amir didn't stop there. He reached up to his rearview mirror, unclipped the high-definition dashcam, and popped out the SD card. "This passenger physically assaulted me while the vehicle was in motion, caused a dangerous distraction on a public roadway, and made repeated terroristic threats against my livelihood and legal status. The audio and high-res video are right here." Victoria's jaw practically unhinged. All the color drained from her face. The shrieking victim act died in her throat. "Wait. What?" she stammered, stepping out from behind the officer. You're just a driver." "No, Victoria," Amir looked her dead in the eye. The corporate predator finally revealing his teeth. "I am the man who writes the rules you just broke." The officers took the SD card inside, plugging it into a precinct laptop. It didn't take an hour. It took exactly 4 minutes for them to watch the footage. They heard the xenophobic slurs, they saw the coffee thrown, they heard the sickening smack of her hand striking Amir's face. When the officers walked back outside, they weren't looking at Amir anymore. They walked straight up to Victoria. "Ma'am, turn around and place your hands behind your back." "No, wait. You don't understand." Victoria gasped, physically backing away. "My husband is a senior partner at—" "I don't care who your husband is," the officer snapped, grabbing her wrist and spinning her around. The sharp, metallic click of the handcuffs echoed through the parking lot. It was the most beautiful sound Amir had heard all night. "You are under arrest for assault and battery on a transport worker." But the karma wasn't over. While she was being read her Miranda rights, crying hysterically and begging for mercy, Amir pulled out his company tablet. He logged into the master mainframe. He pulled up Victoria's user profile. He didn't just hit deactivate. He initiated a level 1 security threat protocol. Victoria's iPhone, sitting on the roof of the police cruiser, lit up with a notification. And then, another. And another. Her personal ride link account? Permanently banned. Her husband's corporate black card account linked to the same IP address? Permanently banned. Every single phone number, credit card, and device associated with her household was instantly blacklisted, across a network that controlled 70% of the city's private transportation. In 5 seconds. Amir completely erased her digital footprint from the platform. She was stranded, not just tonight, but forever. Here is the reality check that people like Victoria never seem to grasp. Assaulting a gig worker isn't a petty misdemeanor anymore. In most states, attacking a transport worker carries enhanced felony charges. And beyond the law, these tech platforms wield absolute, dictatorial power over their ecosystems. You sign a terms of service agreement that basically says they can nuke your existence from their app for any reason, at any time. When you abuse the system doesn't just push back, it crushes you. So, here is the question you have to answer. Look at Victoria, crying in the back of that police cruiser, her makeup ruined, her social standing about to be obliterated by a mugshot. If you were standing in that parking lot, watching this entitled woman sobbing and begging for just one more chance, claiming she had too much to drink and made a mistake, would you step up and ask the cops to show her a little mercy? Or would you stand there in absolute silence and watch her life burn to the ground? Is staying silent in that moment a sign of your own cruelty? Or is it the ultimate form of justice? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Let me know exactly where you draw the line.